This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode 101, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 101. I'm here, you're here, let's have a party. The Brew Party. Andy Hopper checking in, as always. How we doing? How the hell we doing? We're officially in triple digits. Well, we were officially in triple digits last week. Once again, thank you to Carmen Morales for joining us for episode 100. Had an incredible time. This was another incredible time this week. It is Super Bowl week, ladies and gentlemen. The big game. The Bengals, the Rams, to the Super Bowl 56. So I got my guy from the Three-Man Weave podcast, AJ Etter-Williams, to join us to talk everything Bengals, everything you need to know about the Cincinnati Bengals, their playoff run, what led to this, the Super Bowl, what to expect from them. We talk about it. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chidobe Awuzie. We talk about the defense, the offense, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins. I'm just naming players at this point. Trey Hendrickson, Eli Apple, Jesse Bates, Logan Wilson. Names. Just names. We talk about it all. I cannot thank AJ enough. Go check out the Three-Man Weave podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can check them out on YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe to them on YouTube. The Three-Man Weave podcast. AJ, Hill, and Cannon do great things over there. Live stream, I believe it is every Tuesday evening on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern, I think. If I'm butchering this, sorry. Great show, though. I love the show. Love the show. I've been on there a couple times. I love having AJ on. I love having the other guys on. I've had them on the show as well. But this is an awesome show with AJ. Awesome Super Bowl preview. Awesome talk about the Bengals and what this run has meant. They secured their first playoff win since 1990. This is their first Super Bowl appearance since 1988. Both of those out of my time. First time in our lifetimes that something like this has happened, and it's awesome to have AJ on the show to talk about it, talk about what it's been like for him as a fan, what it's been like for Cincinnati, and just what he really thinks this team needs to do or what to win the game, who his X factors are, what else. I mean, you'll hear it in the interview. Why spoil it now anyway? Episode 101 of the Brew Party. You guys know I always like to talk about something before we get into the interview, and I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I know what you're thinking in your heads. Andy, you say that every time, and then you talk for 15 minutes. But that's not happening. Illinois basketball is so fucking back. I love it. They have been on a tear this year, and they haven't even been 100% the full year. It's been incredible what they've been able to do. I believe they're 17-5 right now. They're coming up with a huge matchup against number 3 Purdue in West Lafayette at Mack Arena. Number 13 Illinois at number 3 Purdue. Illinois is in first place in the Big Ten at 10-2 in Big Ten play. Purdue is 9-3 in Big Ten play, I believe. These two teams have met up before. It was a double overtime game in Champaign that unfortunately the Boilers ended up coming up with, but it was a hell of a fight from the Fighting Illini to even be in that game, to even take that game. It's multiple overtimes. That was Andre Curbello's first, came back from his concussion. He ends up going 20 points, I think 5 assists, 5 rebounds, no turnovers. He was insane. They're going to need a big game from Kofi on Tuesday night. Trent Frazier is coming off a huge game. Their last time out, I believe, with 21. It was either 18 or 21 points. But Brad Underwood, what he's been able to do, what he's built this program into in 5 years is just nothing short of incredible. They're 16-0, or he's 16-0 in his last matchups with Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, and Wisconsin, I believe, which is incredible. They're like 23-2 in their last fucking 25 Big Ten games. I think 13-2 on the road in their last 15 road Big Ten game. Like, Jesus, like this is just Illinois basketball is here. These are the good old days. I saw somebody say that on Twitter, but it's been so fun to watch. They haven't even been 100%. Kofi's missed time. Andre Curbelo has played just like minuscule parts of this season. I mean, Trent Frazier's been hurt at points. Etter-Williams has missed time. Austin Hutchinson has been out almost the entire year. Pretty much everybody on the team has had some type of injury or some reason to miss a game. They were missing people within COVID protocol, but yet they are still here. They're number 13 in the country with room to improve still if they get Andre Curbelo back 100%. And they're also sitting at number 1 in the Big Ten with a huge game here Tuesday night. Look at me checking myself, making sure I have to get this out Tuesday morning. Here we go. Anyway, ILL, INI, I've been able to go to quite a few games this year. I'm so thankful to be able to see this team live, especially, we all know after I don't want to say after the pandy because we're still in the pandemic. It's not over, but after the shutdown and not being able to go to games and having to watch on TV, it's just so great to be a part of that atmosphere. And this whole town just changes when Illinois is good. And it has just been incredible. You talk about what Alfonso Plummer's been able to bring and shooting 40% from three and just feeling like he can't miss at times. Jacob Grandison, what he's been, his experience as a fifth-year guy, the transfer, over 1,000 points scored in his career, hit some huge, 2 huge three-pointers this past weekend on Saturday at Indiana to give us the lead, keep the lead, and then we never look back from there. Etter-Williams is the ultimate glue guy in the country. He does all the little things. He's not going to fucking flash you. He's not going to, score more than anybody, but he's going to dive for every ball. He's going to rebound. He can guard 1 through 5, and he will just play hard as long as it takes to get the win. Trent Frazier, what he's able to do on the defensive end of the floor and how much he's able to give, and then as well as score. Like we saw him this weekend on Saturday at Indiana. He was getting absolutely whatever he wanted. He was able to get to the rim. He had multiple step-back three-pointers. Illinois basketball, it is just beautiful. They are my favorite team to watch. Just favorite team ever. Because when I moved to Champaign, when I was 6-7 years old, it was 04. I got to go to those camps at the YMCA, the camps at Ubben and at the Arc and all of that, the Illinois basketball camps, and just moving here was that first year they went to the Final Four, and they were just absolutely insane. The first game I ever went to, I think my dad brought me, which really instilled was the first time I was like, oh shit, Illinois basketball. It was like, I think I was first grade. They were playing Minnesota. I remember that. I don't remember the game at all, but I remember I was in first grade and they were playing Minnesota. And my dad brought me to Champaign, moved here a year later, and I just love the Illini ever since. I say it, I'm a townie that cares a little bit too much about Illinois basketball, but it has been these past 2 seasons with Ayo Dosunmu, and then you just talk about what he's done with the Chicago Bulls this year has been nothing short of incredible. I mean, Rookie of the Year, give him the Rookie of the Year. He's made the Rising Stars challenge for All-Star Weekend, which is great to see him getting national recognition for what he's been able to do. He's one of the best defensive guards in the NBA already. I think he's shooting 40% from 3. He just had 14 assists, 15 points, 14 assists the other night. He's playing valuable minutes for the Chicago Bulls. He's starting for the Chicago Bulls right now. Love to see it. Love to see it, and hope more of these guys get a chance in the NBA. Speaking of more of those guys that you hope get a chance in the NBA, Kofi Cockburn, National Player of the Year, MVP. He is unfucking stoppable. 37 and 12 the other night. And then it follows it up, I believe, with 19 and 8 against Indiana. Don't quote me on that. I should probably look that up, but I won't. If I got it wrong, I'll put it on the screen. which I probably did, but he's just a force to be fucking reckoned with, and so is this Illinois basketball team that can hit you from the outside. They're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, one of the best three-point shooting teams in Illinois basketball history, and also they have the best center in the nation, who they can play for around one. And then when you get Andre Curbelo back in the mix, it opens up the pick-and-roll opportunities for a lot of Kofi slams, a lot of Andre Curbelo getting to the basket and looking like a magician. Like every time I watch him, he is good to make me go or like freak the fuck out at least one time a game. He's the best. Brad Underwood's the GOAT. Yeah, not much more to say. So let's get you into this interview with AJ Etter-Williams from the Three Man Weave podcast. We're talking Cincinnati Bengals. We're previewing the Super Bowl from a Cincinnati Bengals fan's perspective, talking about their run in the playoffs. Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon. I'm not going to go through all the names again. I said it, the names. We talk about a lot of stuff. Thank you so much to AJ for joining me for another episode. Always love having him on. I always love his perspective on things, and I hope you guys do too. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about the Super Bowl. Tell us who you think is going to win. Who Day Nation is very, very represented in this episode of the Brew Party. So go ahead and comment, like this video, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Do it again. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Brew Party. Excuse me, I acquired a thirst for some latte. Anyway, or you can just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It's got all of our social media links and ways to listen to each episode. You can listen right on the website, or it'll link you off to your favorite podcast player or our YouTube as well. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. We're at The Brew Party. We're at The Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. Please, please, please subscribe to the YouTube. I'm asking you, youtube.com/thebrewparty, and like this video, comment while you're at it. Got the kid in the background. Apparently, I should be done with this intro. So this is episode 101 of the Brew Party podcast. I'm Andy Hopper, once again thanking you all for being here. Again, I say it all the time, whether you've been here for episode 1, whether this is your first episode, whatever part of the party you decided to join, just happy to have you. Here's to 100 more fucking episodes, and here's to the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl. Let's go. Let's get into this interview with AJ Etter-Williams from the Three Man Weave podcast. You guys know sports betting season is in full swing. We've got the NFL playoffs are here. The NBA's back. The NHL is here. College basketball. The list goes on. You need a sports book to play some action on all this stuff, huh? How about you head over to BetUS Sportsbook. BetUS.com. That's BETUS.com. Enter promo code TheBrewParty for 125% sign-up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS Sportsbook, they've been in the sports betting industry for over 30 years, paying their customers out quickly with awesome bonuses and with a lot of integrity. Who doesn't love a little integrity, am I right? They've got a race book. They've got a casino. They have live betting. They have props. They have futures. Literally, any bet type you could imagine, they have it over at BetUS Sportsbook. So go to BETUS.com. Enter promo code TheBrewParty for 125% sign-up bonus and start getting paid. BetUS Sportsbook. You bet, you win, you get paid. Promo code TheBrewParty for 125% sign-up bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Once again, we are here. This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 101. We're back with a great friend of the program from the Three Man Weave podcast, the podcast with, I swear to God, the catchiest fucking theme song you'll ever hear. He's doing shit you can't believe. It's AJ Etter-Williams joining the Brew Party podcast. Once again, we are talking Cincinnati Bengals and their march to the Super Bowl 56 against the Los Angeles Rams. Had to get our guy AJ on to talk about it. You'll remember him from a couple months ago and from our draft show when he came on and talked about Jamar Chase's incredible start. And now we're here. So, AJ, how we doing, my friend?
Hey, man, it's a beautiful run. It doesn't even feel real, but hey, I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it. And like I said, this is the first time in my lifetime. I'm not talking about draft. Who we're gonna draft and who's gonna be the next player that we're gonna get to take the next step. So it's fun, man.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this year the Bengals picked up their first playoff win since 1990. This is going to be their first Super Bowl appearance since 1988. So, like you said, it has been quite a while, quite a long road as a Bengals fan. And I mean, there were some good Bengals teams, when we were growing up from the early 2000s as well. So let's talk about how we got here. And I want to start with your head coach. So, a guy that we've talked about before, a guy that was a little bit of a head scratching hire at the time, and that's Zach Taylor. So, his first 2 seasons at the helm after replacing Marvin Lewis, he was 6-25-1. In 2019, you guys were 2-14. This marks the most dramatic 2-season turnaround, or most drastic 2-season turnaround for a Super Bowl team ever. So how does a head coach that starts his first 2 seasons at 6-25-1 go to his third year, lead this team to a Super Bowl?
Well, first off, it was really about getting his guys. So one thing that I can say is in all those terrible Bengals games when Zach Taylor got here, the team never quit. The team may have been bad, but the locker room never quit. So you look at guys like Jesse Bates, you look at guys like Joe Mixon, CJ Uzama, Tyler Boyd. They've always played with fire. They've always backed Zach. And you know, we talk about coach speak. Sometimes I just wasn't sure if it was player speak, like, hey, Zach's our guy. We believe in him, things like that. But last year was real eye-opening when players like Carlos Dunlap started making, a stink, and he got him up out of there. Geno Atkins, he was hurt. They ended up not bringing him back. So some of those holdovers from the Marvin era, he got rid of, and he started putting his imprint on it. And you saw us do things that we didn't normally do. Like the year before, we brought in DJ Reader, made him the highest paid nose tackle. Then you see some of the players that we bring in. We let go of William Jackson. He ends up getting $14 million a year from Washington. We bring in Cheeto Awuzie, Mike Hilton, and Eli Apple, all for $14 million this year. And that ends up being our starting corner room. And those guys in the defense, Lou Anarumo, he played a very complicated, inverted defense, doing some inverted zones, some weird stuff back there. But he started getting his guys. And one thing Hill told me when we brought in Cheeto, he said if he learns to find the ball, he'll be a problem. And he started to find the ball, making plays on the ball. And I'll get into it a little bit later. If you actually look at some of the breakdown, there's not much difference between his coverage and the numbers that he's let up versus Jalen Ramsey. So he's been playing like a number one of the highest rated corners in the AFC. So I think Zach Taylor got here by really just getting his guys and really putting out a message that they believe in. And of course, having Joe Burrow is, that's going to help you a lot.
I mean, incredible transition there, my friend, because we'll talk about your quarterback, who is maybe the coolest dude on the fucking planet. Like, one of the most likable guys ever. Like, I can't remember, rooting for a certain guy or a certain quarterback more than that's not on my team or any of a team that I root for, like more than I've rooted for Joe Burrow. He's so likable. He's been the perfect guy to lead this team. If you talk about what he's done this year, 4,616 yards, 34 touchdowns, passer rating 108.3, led the NFL in completion percentage at 70.4. These are all the first three are single season franchise records for the Bengals. This guy's 25 years old. He's coming. This is his second season, and really his first one was cut incredibly short. He's coming off ACL, MCL, anything in his knee that could have gotten hurt. It seemed like it did. Just talk about what he's meant to the team, the city of Cincinnati, the state of fucking Ohio. Just how incredible he has been for you guys, and just what it's meant, what it's like, and how good it feels to have a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, he's meant everything to this team. Yeah. Yes, we have other captains, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Jesse Bates. They're very vocal as well. And those are guys who have been around and they've bought into this Bengals culture. But Joe Mixon is Joe Burrow is really the engine. He's the one that really keeps everyone level. He's the one that gives everyone hope. As cliche as that sounds, it's just
it's true.
Because you look at the guys like Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and those guys, they've started their career with Andy Dalton. And I've always said Andy Dalton couldn't motivate me to make a damn sandwich, let alone go out there and get into a car accident for 50 plays a game. So it's someone out there that you can believe in, man. And Adam Jones, he actually came out and said it today. Because they interviewed him for CBS and they asked him what's the difference between this team and how come those teams in the 2010s couldn't get over that playoff hump. And he flat out said it. If you look at those teams, it starts with the quarterback. The quarterback was really the reason why we couldn't get over the hump. And the one chance that we had with Andy Dalton in 2015, where he was actually playing like an MVP candidate, he broke his thumb 2 games before the playoffs. And then we had to play Pittsburgh in the playoffs, and we almost beat them with AJ McCarron. But those other 4 playoff games, Andy Dalton, he couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And you look at someone like Joe Burrow, put Andy Dalton in that Tennessee game. We're getting our ass blown out. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Well, I do know what you mean, because Andy Dalton started too many games for my team this year.
Exactly. So to me, just seeing, I didn't believe some of the things that I've seen Joe Burrow do, as far as taking 9 sacks and still just sitting in the pocket and delivering the ball. And one thing that during last season, a lot of people were like, with Justin Herbert throwing all the 50 yard, 60 yard, 70 yard touchdown passes, people were asking me like, oh, I bet you wish you had Justin Herbert. I said, no, not really, because Joe Burrow is the perfect leader for this team. Justin Herbert's not a very vocal leader. And the things that Justin Herbert did, they're kind of volatile. Like he has a great arm, very good at the deep passing. But if you look at last year before Joe Burrow got hurt, he was top 2 in the intermediate passing range with, great completion percentage, great accuracy, and the great, on target throws. And that's something that is consistent. Deep balls are very inconsistent and very volatile. Joe Burrow is one of the worst deep ball passes in the league last year. And so it's just like, he's something that's consistent. He's not great at really anything, but he's really fucking good at a whole lot. So to me, I think he's the perfect quarterback. And to be quite honest, I've literally watched an Ohio kid in Ben Roethlisberger kick my ass for like 15 fucking years. So it feels good to have an Ohio kid come down to Cincinnati and really put his stake on the division and, kind of take over the AFC North like he has.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about a few more guys, but let's talk about this playoff run. Like I mentioned earlier, first playoff win since 1990 in that win over Las Vegas. And then you've ripped off 3 wins in a row, all on the road, 2 with last-second field goals, 1 in overtime in the AFC Championship game. What has this playoff run meant to you personally?
I mean, that first playoff victory, the one against the Raiders, that meant everything, because it's like, in Cincinnati, everybody's been talking about, can we just get one before we die? And literally, it's sad because it started off as a Super Bowl, but then it's just like, damn, can we know what it's like to win a playoff game? And so getting that one out the way is like, okay, now it's like, Let's go win this whole fucking thing. Let's do it. And when we got the Titans coming up after that Raiders game, it's like we can beat the Titans. It's gonna be tough. Derrick Henry was coming back, but I was telling Hill, if we could put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands, we can win this game. I don't care if they're the number one seed. We can beat them. We beat them last year with a way worse team. Derrick Henry, we held him in check, and we added DJ Reader. DJ Reader got hurt before we played them, and he's so underrated with what he does in the run game. When Derrick Henry was in there, Derrick Henry, he has to get going and get those yards, and then he starts breaking tackles. But if you get him in the backfield, you really basically, cut his legs out from under him. Mm-hmm. And so DJ Reader was in there just wreaking havoc, and everyone was just rallying to the ball. And of course, you put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands, and what did he do? Threw the shit away. So it was great. And he was terrible. And to transition to awful, that second half by Mahomes, it was like, holy shit. He looked like a deer in headlights. And that first half, I'm not going to lie, I was like, okay, it was a good run, but the playoff Chiefs are back. But then it was that Samaje Perine touchdown that made it 21-10. A lot of people talk about that play before halftime, but the Samaje Perine screen for 41 yards that's one that was like, okay, we back in this. And then it took me back to week 17. I was like, okay, we just got to do some shit and really put ourselves in position to just get another score. And we've been a second half team. So when we got that stop before halftime, I'm like, oh shit, we coming back. And then Lou Anarumo, I don't know what the hell he did, but he made that adjustment, and defense looked like a completely different defense, and it worked. It was beautiful.
It was unreal. We've seen Patrick Mahomes in those moments where he scrambles and he's got like all the time in the world. You don't see him go down like that. You don't see him, many teams make him look like the Bengals defense made him look in the second half. They dropped 8 into coverage. They were really only bringing 3 guys, but it felt like they were getting more pressure in the second half, rushing less. So take me through your mindset in that game, man, because I love the video you posted in the group. Because how could you not just freak the fuck out? You just went into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs into overtime. There was, in the first half, I had the Bengals plus 7.5. I live bet Bengals money line because they were winning and it was still plus money. It was egregious, so I had to hit it.
You got to take it.
I had to take it. So obviously the first half, at the beginning, the Chiefs are getting absolutely anything they want. You start to creep back in. So would you say it was at the 41-yard touchdown was when you truly believed that you could win this? Like, when did it take you to realize, like, holy fuck, like, we just won the AFC Championship game? Like
I said, that 41-yard touchdown was like, okay, we have a chance because so me and Hill, we're serious about our football. So he's diehard Cowboys, I'm diehard Bengals. So we have to text each other to keep us like calm during the game. He's like trying to talk me off the ledge. So I'm like, bro, this shit is over. And he's like, bro, like, just relax. It's gonna be okay. Y'all came back from behind in the previous game. And I'm like, nah, they scoring way too easy. But then when we got that touchdown, that's when I was like, okay, this can work, because we were getting ate up on defense and we couldn't move the ball on offense. So it's just like, if we can't move the ball on offense, they're just gonna eat us alive. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, we back in it. This is manageable. And then at halftime, I'm like, that play before half, I'm like, oh shit, they fucked up. Because like I said, to me, you started playing with your food. You started getting a little cute. Mm-hmm. You should have took those points, because it may not seem like a lot, but those 3 points, that's an extra possession. It's going to make it an extra possession. And so we got that, came out. Lou Anarumo made those adjustments. And, like you said, usually when Patrick Mahomes scrambles and he's back there scrambling, he always finds someone. But one thing I said is, we're not doing something that we did in the first game. And that's just put Trey Flowers on Travis Kelce. Put an actual corner, like a tall, Trey Flowers is 6'3". Put his ass on Travis Kelce and and help, and then just help other people drop in those windows and still have him on them. And so kind of
Absolutely.
like a pseudo double coverage. Second half, they start dropping three. Sam Hubbard would drop back in a spy. He'd bump Kelsey off the line and get in those passing windows earlier. Because if you look at that play right before halftime, Mahomes wanted to go over the middle to Travis Kelsey, but there were just too many bodies back there, so he didn't want to risk it. And so he panicked. And we don't see Mahomes panic often. He panicked and he threw the ball to Tyreek, and it was just a blown play. And then that second half, it just started looking good. And then that screen play where BJ Hill got the interception, I'm like, oh shit, it's time. Because you could tell how rattled he was. If you look at that, if BJ Hill doesn't pick it, he's gonna hit Trey Hendrickson right in the face mask, and he's gonna pick it. So he was out like Sam Darnold. He was out there seeing ghosts. So I'm like, oh baby, we got action. We got action. So it was just that was the game where I'm like, oh wow, we really fucking won.
But like that, it's incredible, dude. Like speaking as a fan of a really shitty football team, I hope I get there in the next few years. It's just an incredible run. They are so easy to root for. I'm rooting hard for you. Let's transition into a little bit of a Super Bowl preview here. And I've got a question for you about that defensive strategy that we saw in the second half from Cincinnati. Do you think we see a similar strategy, similar game plan from Anarumo and this defense going up against the Rams and all the weapons they have? Dropping those 8 guys into coverage, the Chidobe Awuzies, the Eli Apples. Ooh, actually, before we get into this, what did you think of the Eli Apple Tyreek Hill beef? Because that was he called his ass a baby.
Yeah, so Eli Apple actually has been doing that all year. And so he actually hasn't been playing very bad. He's been holding his own. And so, hey, whatever it takes, if you need to get yourself up and talk shit and to motivate yourself, by all means do it. But just know they're gonna be on your head. So, but I think he's gonna be fine. He hasn't been an extreme liability, and they haven't really just been putting him on an island and say, hey, guard this person.
Right.
So I think he'll be fine. As far as the strategy of dropping 8, I'm not sure about that. I think Sean McVay, he won't go Andy Reid because he'll run the ball. And we drop 8, they're just going to run the ball all over us and make us stop it. And so I think we're going to have to play a little bit more straight up. But what I will say is with DJ Reader, when they run the ball, it's going to be a little bit difficult because although their tackles, Andrew Whitworth, former Bengal, and Rob Havenstein have had really great years, their interior offensive line is not great. And so they're kind of in the same situation as the Bengals, where the interior of their offensive line can really be leaky at times. So with us being very strong in the run game, I think if we can start, like if we can start fast,
sure,
the Bengals can start fast and not be that team that just has to flip a switch and make the adjustments in the second half. If we could put some points on the board in the first half, I think it'll force them to try and put the ball in the air a little bit more. And like Ryan Tannehill, but not to that extent, Matt Stafford will give you the ball. He'll give you a chance. And so I think if we can put the ball in Matt Stafford's hands and just make him give us a chance, I think this will turn out to be a high scoring game. And we really have a shot at a high scoring game.
Absolutely. So you mentioned starting fast. What does this Bengals offense need to do that? Because it felt like they started the Chiefs game a little conservative. It felt like some checkdowns. It felt like they weren't really giving Joe chances to throw the ball downfield, at least early. What would you like to see from this offense in the Super Bowl? You have so many weapons. You had 3 guys go over 1,000 yards receiving in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. The only team, the only other team besides the Buccaneers to do that this season. So what would you like to see offensively? How do you start fast? How do you start with a bang, and how do you sustain it, like you said, instead of having to really, flip a switch?
I'd say get the ball in your playmakers' hands early. So a lot of those, Zach Taylor has a really bad problem of running the ball on first down, and it becomes very predictable. So now the teams know your tendency, and you're going to run the ball on first down a lot. So you run the ball, they're playing the run, and next thing you know, you're just basically in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10 already. So to me, you have to switch up your game plan. You have to switch up your opening game script where you want to, put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands a little bit more early because he has been careful with the ball. Against the Bears, he turned it over on 3 straight plays. Against the Packers, he kind of gave it up. But down this stretch, he's been playing some of his best ball of the season. So to me, don't be afraid to put the ball in his hands, and don't be afraid to do those things that you did late in the game, like throwing just, quick smoke screens or doing some check downs over the middle to Joe Mixon, because to me, that's going to be the best way to really eliminate some of this Rams pass rush. As well, as crazy as it seems, you might think that, oh, you want to run the ball to eliminate their pass rush. But some of those quick, like getting the ball out of his hands quick, is going to be very pivotal in keeping them guys off of Joe Burrow as well. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but also to me, I think Joe Mixon will be the key to the Bengals winning this game, actually.
Absolutely. So the Joe Mixon is the key. Let's get right into that. Joe Mixon was one of the best running backs in the NFL this season. Third in rushing yards with 1205, fourth in rushing touchdowns with 13, and fifth in first down runs with 60 total. How is he the key? What does he do, or what does he have to do to win you this game? And you really had a good transition for me here, because my next question, along with this, or you kind of answered it. How do you guys attack this, Rams defense that, during the year they were, I believe, 17th or 8th. Like, I think Cincinnati was 17th and the Rams were 18th, or it might have been vice versa as far as defensive rankings go. But their Rams defense that has really turned it up the past couple weeks. How do you guys, counteract that? You say it's with the run and Joe Mixon.
And also, not necessarily just the run, but Joe Mixon in the pass game too, because Reader, their linebacker core is kind of soft. So he's terrible in coverage. So get Joe Mixon out there. Joe Mixon is, electric with the ball in his hands. You saw, he had those catches out of the backfield in the Chiefs game where he started to break some. He can make guys miss, and he's big as hell. So it's hard to bring him down in that second level. So I think that's really going to be the key, especially to open things up. I know a lot of people are talking about, what Ramsey will do against Jamar Chase, or if you put him on T. Higgins. Outside of Ramsey, their corners are they're middle of the road to bad as well. So they can be had. And we've seen sometimes as well where teams, when they try to stay in kind of like their, base shell, which is kind of sometimes a nickel, but Tyler Boyd ends up on a linebacker. So I don't care if you have Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase. I don't care if you have him on T. Higgins and you double the other. If you're going to put a linebacker on Tyler Boyd, or you put a linebacker on Joe Mixon, they're going to eat you up. And I think that's where we really have to go to open things up and get them out of their comfort zone. Because I think they're going to try and dictate us. They're going to try and force us to pass so they can put their pass rushers, on Joe Burrow and hit him a lot and see if they can rattle him and Aaron Donald can get up the middle on him. If you just start dumping stuff off over their head, to Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, and you just start moving those chains, then you're going to have to start bringing those safeties up. And then guess what? The rest of the field is yours and you can eat. So I think that is really the key, that we have to attack the Rams defense over the middle, right behind that defensive front. So get the ball right over their hands. Right over their heads, attack them quick, and let your playmakers work. You see, when Jamar Chase gets a smoke screen, he can take it 60 yards. When Joe Mixon gets a screen, he can take it 40 yards. So get the ball out your hands quick and make them cover you, and make those rushers want to, peel back because they say, hey, I need to turn around and try and get to this ball carrier. So I think that's going to be the key.
Absolutely. So you talked about Jalen Ramsey. You said you don't care if he is on Jamar Chase. So a theme of this playoffs so far has seemed to been, doubling Chase and kind of forcing Burrow to hit the next guy up, or next man up mentality type stuff. And he did just that. And he didn't get baited really at all. And he didn't try to force the ball to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins had, 106 yards or something like that in the AFC
Six
Championship
catches for
game.
103.
He was incredible. Uh, do you think we see more of that? Do you think we see more doubles on Jamar Chase? Do you think it's simply Ramsey being the alpha of that room, being like, I got it, type of thing? But really, are there going to be opportunities for Jamar Chase? Do you think they'll try to work more things into the playbook to get the ball in his hands as though, seems like he did have a really good AFC Championship game, but it seems like there have been less opportunities for him to get the ball in the playoffs. I mean, we're talking about a guy broke the franchise record, 1,455 yards this year, 13 total touchdowns for fourth in the league. Everybody can say what they want about taking him instead of Sewell in the draft. You've said your piece on this show before, which for all of the haters that talk shit about the Cincinnati draft, you take probably the rookie of the year, in my opinion. You also take a kicker that is maybe going to be go down in the same breath as Justin Tucker. Like, Evan McPherson is a fucking dog.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so my question, though, first is about Jamar Chase. How do you guys get him the ball? Do you think he's going to be prone to more double teams? Do you think it's just going to be a Jalen Hurts, Jalen Ramsey type game?
So early on, I don't think it'll just be Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to stick to his side, and whoever comes to his side, that's going to dictate their coverage. If T. Higgins goes to that side and Jalen Ramsey's out there, Jalen Ramsey's going to cover him, and they'll probably cloud cover Jamar. If Jalen Ramsey's over there and Jamar, then they'll cloud cover T and maneuver their defense that way. But if somebody starts to go off and someone starts to really get in a rhythm, that's when I believe Jalen Ramsey is going to go for whoever is in that rhythm. And I think the matchup actually would be for the Rams, a better matchup would be Jalen Ramsey against T. Higgins, because Jalen Ramsey actually does better against those bigger receivers because he can get into their body, he can be physical and knock them off their spot. Jamar Chase, although he plays very big, Jamar Chase is about 6', 6'1". Mm-hmm. And he's very quick and he can get in and out of his breaks. And one thing I said before, even during the draft process, he doesn't get a lot of credit for his route running because in his draft highlights, you just saw him going deep a whole bunch. But he's very nuanced in his route running. So I think that will be, kind of a little bit more of a difficult matchup for Jalen, especially because he likes to kind of, play off coverage, or even if he's playing man, he'll play off man, and he'll kind of like to let you run to him so he can see everything develop. So I think it'll start off as Jalen Ramsey is going to pick a side, and he will go for whoever's hot at the time.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your defense a little bit more. Who is your key defensive player for the Bengals on Super Bowl Sunday? You gave me Joe Mixon for the offense. Is it a guy like Trey Hendrickson who comes in and has 14 sacks? Is it a guy like Sam Hubbard who has a huge second half for you guys? Or is it in the secondary, in Eli Apple, in Chidobe Awuzie, or Jesse Bates, who's been outstanding for you guys as well? Yes. Who is your defensive X factor for the Super Bowl?
So my defensive X factor is going to be Logan Wilson. Because like I said, like we were talking about, can they drop that 8 in coverage like they were doing against the Chiefs? To me, if Logan Wilson is able to run free and really match up with Cam Akers and those guys in the backfield and slow down that running game, I think that is going to really allow Lou to do everything that he wants to do. Because if they can stop the run game, I think Trey Hendrickson can get there and create pressure. I think Sam Hubbard, he's one of our better run defenders. Mm-hmm. BJ Hill, hopefully, he can make some pressure and get some pressure up the middle against Matt Stafford. So I think Logan Wilson to me is actually the X factor. But if you have a little money, just a couple dollars, I'd throw it on Eli Apple to win Super Bowl MVP. I'm feeling the Eli Apple pick to seal the game. I'm feeling it. And he has some really good odds right now.
I am all about that. Let's throw some change on Eli Apple to win the Super Bowl MVP. Here's my next question. What do you guys do, or what would you do to try to neutralize Cooper Cup. We're talking about a guy that won the Triple Crown, over like 1,900 yards on the year. How do you guys stop him? I don't know if you can stop him. Do you slow him down? Do you neutralize him? Oh, by the way, you got OBJ on the on the other side to worry about as well. So if you're the defensive coordinator, what's your game plan for slowing the Rams' weapons down?
So to me, you will have to take some of that scheme that you did for the Chiefs, where you have to kind of put Chidobe Awuzie on their number one, just like you put Cheeto on Tyreek Hill. You're gonna have to put him on Cooper Cup. In that first game, when when Tyreek Hill went into the slot in Week 17, Cheeto followed him. To me, I think this is one of those games where you might have to do that and roll a little bit of coverage to Odell. But we've also seen a lot of times, we've seen Matt Stafford put the ball in, force the ball in the coverage to Cooper Cup and to Odell. So you kind of want to muddy his vision and give him some things where people flash. You want to do some robber cover. So, sit back and, make it look like it's a cover 2 look and then drop someone under. So you kind of want to do those things and give them different looks. And I will say Lou Anarumo has been doing that a lot this year, where he's mixed up looks. He's been dropping guys in different places, sending guys from, inverted zones where you think that they're going to be covering deep and they drop down underneath. So I think you'll have to do that a lot with Matt Stafford and move those guys around. And that's another reason why I say Logan Wilson will play a big part, because you want him to, kind of come up underneath some of those Cooper Cup routes when he's in the slot, even if, you have Mike Hilton on Cooper Cup, which to me, if Cooper Cup is in the slot against Mike Hilton, it's going to be a long day, because he's not the best cover man, but he is great against the run and he's great as a blitzer. And so I'll need to see him, coming off the edge, sending some blitzes, and then Logan Wilson dropping into that vacated zone that he's in. So to me, I think don't let Cooper Cup dictate your defense. You have to really give Matt Stafford some things and make Matt Stafford play into your hands, because Cooper Cup is going to get his. Sean McVay is going to make sure he gets his. But you just have to make sure that you don't allow, you can stop the bleeding. So if Cooper Cup is getting his, don't let Odell beat you deep. Don't let them start getting Cam Akers going.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said. I don't even know what more to add to it. Besides your fucking Phoenix Suns are kicking my Bulls' ass right now.
Hey man, Suns looking good this year, man.
They're incredible. What Devin Booker has turned into is incredible to watch. Chris Paul being that veteran presence for you guys, and what he's been able to bring, to the whole team, to how he's been able to help Booker evolve is just so fun to watch. You probably have the coach of the year in Monty Williams. I'm rooting for you guys in the West for sure.
And you know what's funny? So a couple games ago, Chris Paul was like, I'm a fan. I need a Jamar Chase jersey. So Jamar Chase sent him a jersey. Chris Paul sent him a jersey. The Bengals just actually posted on their website with Jamar holding the thing.
Pretty sure I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, that's so sick.
So I'm like, shit, it feels good. Like both of my teams. So I'm really hoping, Phoenix, they couldn't pull it off last year, but I'm hoping the Bengals flip that trend this year, and then and then Phoenix, we can get to the finals again this year and actually pull it off. So
yes, sir. We'll have to have you back on later to talk about some NBA and some Phoenix hoops as well.
Definitely.
But back to the Super Bowl. Let's do a little wrap up here. So you said let's put some money on Eli Apple to win Super Bowl MVP. I want a score prediction. I want your real Super Bowl MVP. And yeah, let's hear that from you.
So I've been trying to stay away from score predictions all playoffs, just because I want.
All right, you don't have to give it to me if you don't want to.
Like I said, I personally I just want my guys to win. Pulling for my guys, I'm trying to just put some good humble energy in the air. So I want my guys to win. I do think, like I said, I think we do have a really great shot at this game. And what we've seen from the Bengals all playoffs is kind of just those ugly, very, rough and rugged games. I think this game is actually going to be a little bit more high scoring. And I think our weapons will actually outshine and make a couple more plays than the Rams. And this is why I said this is why you draft Jamar Chase, because now my third guy is better than your third corner, and he's going to eat him alive. And so to me, if the Rams still had Robert Woods, I'd be like, ooh, okay. But Van Jefferson, I think we can handle him.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think just our guys are gonna just be a little bit better, and we're gonna make a couple more plays, and they're gonna make one more mistake, and we're gonna take it home.
Let's go. Bengals taking home the Super Bowl.
And so my real Super Bowl MVP is gonna be Joe Mixon. Like I said, he's the key, and I think he's gonna have a big game. I know it's always gonna go to the quarterback, and I want it to be Joe. But I just think Joe Mixon is just going to have such an impact, and his imprint is going to be all over this game. So I think that's where it's going to go.
Absolutely. Let's fucking do it. Let's go Bengals. Before we get out of here, before I let you plug your awesome podcast and all your stuff, I just want to give you a moment to gloat, because you were right all along, my friend. The pick, Jamar Chase, was correct. They didn't need to take a fucking lineman. For anybody that said, why the fuck are you taking a kicker in the 5th round of the draft?
I literally said it after the Titans game. I said, that's why you draft a fucking kicker.
That is why. He is 16 for 16 on playoff kicks. That's a record. He set a team record for most 50-yard field goals in a season. It is amazing when your team actually has a reliable kicker. I will say that. It is one thing the Bears did have. Cairo Santos was a pretty good kicker. But Evan McPherson, all-time line, looking over Brandon Allen after doing a fucking warm-up swing and said, yeah, we're going to the AFC Championship game. So incredible. So incredible.
So, man, when I came on during draft season, I said, look, man, you draft Jamar Chase to beat the Chiefs. You draft Penei Sewell, you drafted Penei Sewell to compete in the AFC North. To me, if you're trying to outpoint the Chiefs, that means you're playing for Super Bowls. That was a long term. That's your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line, yes, it's great to have a really, really good offensive line, but you really just want have some guys. You get 5 dots to try and get in the way. You need guys that's going to put points on the board. Jamar Chase puts points on the board, because you see how stagnant this offense looks at points. Just imagine if we didn't have Jamar Chase. Yeah, you'd have Penei Sewell, but you don't have anybody to really threaten the defense. Yeah, T. Higgins, he has great games, but a lot of that is coming off of he's getting the number 2. So yeah, he's better than a lot of guys number 2, and he's getting one-on-one coverage because Jamar is getting rolled coverage. So to me, it opens up your offense and it allows you to get everybody involved, because now you have one of those guys that's on the field that you have to game plan for. And yes, I would love to have an offensive lineman, but like I was saying, the draft doesn't stop in round 1. We drafted Jackson Carman. He came in, he was the starter. He's been up and down like a rookie would, and then he got injured. A lot of people don't know that. He hurt his back. So we had to bring in Hakeem Adeniji, who was a reserve, and they looked at him as a long-term project. He was a 6th-round pick last year, so he was a long-term project, and now he as a tackle. And now you bring him in, and then Riley Reif, who was starting at right guard, he was up in Minnesota. He was right tackle. He was a very good right tackle for us.
Mm-hmm.
He's on IR. So a lot of people just look at, the Bengals offensive line is so trash. We've actually did some things to improve it. And to me personally, I'm not trying to look ahead, but if Joe Burrow's completing 70% of his passes and he's the most sacked quarterback in the league, watch the fuck out if he gets a little bit more protection.
Oh, shit.
So to me, I think it was just beautiful to see that, hey, I caught a lot of shit for this Jamar Chase pick, but I'm like, listen to me, guys. It's good. This is going to be something. Just everyone, the memes. Oh, how's he going to throw it to Jamar Chase if he's on his back? I'm like, Joe Burrow's a playmaker, and you saw that in that Chiefs game. He's gonna he took those sacks in Tennessee because they ran a lot of stunts and twists. But if you're just gonna rush him straight up, he's gonna find the lane, and he can move with his legs. He may not be the most athletic, but he do a little bit. He do enough.
You saw it in the AFC Championship game. Those 2 times where he escaped and kept that drive alive was
Mm-hmm.
just like, how? It did not make any sense. He's the coolest man on the planet. Doesn't matter what glasses he's wearing, the chain, Joe Shiesty, Joe Brrr, or whatever you call him, man. AJ, this has been incredible, an awesome preview of what to expect from the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Bengals Nation. I mean, we'll get some skyline to celebrate
Yes,
when you guys bring it home.
definitely, definitely.
Before you get out of here, tell us about your awesome podcast. Anything you want to plug, where to follow you guys, where to listen, all of that good stuff. Three Man Weave, one of my favorite podcasts out there.
Definitely, man. And before I say that, Andy, once again, thank you for having me, man. I always
Anytime.
enjoy coming on. It's a pleasure. And like you said, we definitely got to get you on Three Man Weave whenever you're ready, man.
Let
We
me
can
know. You let me
definitely.
know. I'm ready.
I'll talk to the guys and we'll have you on. But yeah, man, follow us at 3manweave _ on Instagram and Twitter. If you're on Facebook, send us a request to join the 3Man Weave group. We have tons of fun in there. It's a whole bunch of shit talking, a lot of knowledge that gets dropped too. You can catch us on all major podcast platforms, but make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at 3Man Weave Podcast. Hit that subscribe button, like that. And then if you have any questions you want to ask us and you want us to bring it up on the podcast, you can email us at podcast.3.man.weave@gmail.com. And I just want to say, man, I called all this shit. I said, hey, we are going to be a playoff team. We're going to make some noise. And who would have guessed the Bengals in the fucking Super Bowl?
Let's go. Let's go. Bengals in the Super Bowl. Bengals money line. I looked at it today. They're +4. And then on the spread, +160 money line. I think I have to hammer it. We'll have to get with you, maybe get some props, see what you like for the Bengals. Obviously, we'll just hammer every Joe Mixon prop now.
Yeah.
That's obviously what you like. But AJ, thank you so much, man. I love having you on the show. Love our conversations because it always turns into something fun, something informative, something amazing. So let's go Bengals. Let's go Super Bowl on Sunday. Sunday's actually my girlfriend's birthday too. So her birthday is the day before Valentine's Day, and now it's Super Bowl Sunday. So I told her I hope she likes football themed parties because
Yeah,
that's
what she's getting. Yeah.
what we're doing. Obviously boyfriend of the year, but anyway, this is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 101, featuring my man AJ Etter-Williams from the 3Man Weave Podcast. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, or you can just go to www.thebrewparty.com. Follow us on social media at The Brew Party on Twitter. We're at The Brew Party on Instagram as well. And we're at The Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube, like this video, comment, tell us what you think about the Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl. The first time 2 number 4 seeds enter the Super Bowl. And I believe it's the youngest matchup of head coaches ever. A 35-year-old Sean McVay versus a 38-year-old Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor, former Sean McVay assistant. So a lot of storylines in the Super Bowl. Thanks again to AJ for joining me. This is the Brew Party Podcast. We are out of here.